We're going to have that difficult conversation. Now, we're tackling a question that every professional at some point will wrestle with. Is it ever okay to burn bridges? Now, we've all been there, frustrated, angry, feeling wronged, the temptation to lash out to say what's really on your mind. That can be strong. But before you reach for the petrol or gasoline, let's take a deep breath and consider the potential fallout. After all, in the professional world, even the design world, no matter how vast it seems, sometimes it can feel surprisingly small, especially, as I mentioned, in the design industry. So, we're going to look at the pros and cons, and we're going to try to establish whether burning a professional bridge is okay. Defining burning bridges. So, what exactly is burning a bridge? Now, we're not talking about disagreeing with a colleague or leaving a job. What we're talking about are actions that actively and irrevocably damage your reputation, your professional reputation, and make future collaboration nearly impossible. Think public criticism, backstabbing, walking out without notice, or egregious violations of trust. See, these actions tend to linger. The illusion of never burning bridges. See, you'll often hear the mantra, well, I'll never burn a bridge. See, it's a good idea in principle, but in practice, well, it's not always the case. See, a lot of people say the world is small, but that's not strictly true. It's more about who you know that can matter sometimes instead of who you don't know. Reasons to consider the consequences. Let's start with the obvious. Burning a bridge can be likened to tattooing unreliable on your forehead. So your reputation will take a serious hit. Now, future employers, clients, and collaborators, they will hear about it. See, the design industry is the most creative in terms of its fields. It thrives on word of mouth referrals, especially. Now, if you've torched a relationship, see, those opportunities vanish along with it and connected ones. So you're going to find it really hard to network your way back into favor because people can remember. Now, let me give you a concrete example. Now, I recall a graphic designer. Now, we're going to call his name Alex. So, Alex, he was exceptionally talented. He was a creative powerhouse. He was an intimidating guy, not just in personality, but in physical size. But he had a severe problem. Now, his problem was with authority and controlling his temper. Now, at the company he was working at, his pitch was rejected by his manager, who was the director at the time. Now, Alex, he went off. He sent a scathing email cussing the entire team, the people that he worked with, fellow design creatives. He accused his manager of incompetence and bias, and then he quit on the spot. Now, was Alex right to voice his concerns and ask further questions? Oh, yes, but the way he handled it was disastrous. Alex reacted instead of responding. Now, what in turn happened was that within weeks, his name was basically just rubbished, mud across the industry. You see, news travels fast. He struggled to find freelance work. Other firms were hesitant to hire him. His talent was undeniable. Yes, he was a design powerhouse, but his reputation preceded him. He ended up having to leave and go to another city just to continue and rebuild his career. You see, that's a very high price to pay just for a single moment of catharsis. We may think in that moment that we get instant gratification, but the long term view can be much more damaging than any instant gratification we feel we will get. The case for rebuilding selective bridges. But what if the bridge leads to a toxic swamp? What do we do then? What if the other party is actively harming your career, your well being, or your ethical standards? Now, you see, sometimes cutting ties is the only sensible option. I mean, think of situations involving harassment, discrimination, or illegal activity. See, protecting yourself and your values is paramount. In these instances, the never burn a bridge rule or guide is not the primary focus here. Your primary focus is going to be escaping that situation and protecting those precious values that you hold dear. Sometimes the bridge that's being burnt is a sinking ship, and you need to distance yourself from the people going down on it. You have to make that hard choice of survival. Now, you don't have to be cruel about it, but you don't need to wait for permission either. Principled considerations. Now, here's a really good reference for us. Now, the Chicago Graphic Design Club makes an excellent point. They say your reputation is your currency. Now, they're right to highlight that that means acting with integrity, even when it's difficult. Now, in the design industry, where your reputation and your personal brand is often intertwined with your professional output, this is doubly true. Now, they go on to say that it's important to treat everyone with respect. Okay, but what if you were the one being disrespected? See, now this can be tricky because it suggests that even when cutting ties, you should strive for professionalism. Do not slander and make unfounded accusations or act out of pure spite. Now, this is important to remember as it's not your job to punish, but it is your job to defend yourself. Now, in some ways, this is not necessarily a popular opinion. Defending oneself can include denying accusations, obviously, but letting your current behavior quiet the noise, your professional behavior. You see, professionalism will always win out. Don't turn into some comic book superhero out for vengeance. You see, this can have a multitude of negative consequences for yourself, relationships, and society as a whole, let alone even in an extreme case where it becomes legal. Leadership and bridge burning. Now, for those in leadership positions or those aspiring to be, see, burning bridges carries an even greater weight. You see, your actions will set the tone for your entire team, the team that you lead or serve, or the organization. And if you're known for vindictiveness or ruthlessness, you're going to create a culture of fear and mistrust without even realizing it. And that can happen extremely quickly. You see, good leadership builds bridges. It doesn't demolish them. Now, as a leader, people will naturally look toward you. Now, you're not there to solve their problems, even though, well, you might at times. But you're there to provide a safe and productive environment to enable them to thrive so you too can win. You see, you're there to be their shield. You're there to lead by example. However, strong leaders do make tough decisions. Sometimes that means cutting ties with individuals or organizations that are detrimental to the overall mission. Now, it should always be done with careful consideration and transparency and respect as much as possible. Now, if you're considering burning a bridge, ask yourself a few questions. Is this truly necessary? What are the long-term consequences for me and my team? Most importantly, am I acting in the best interest of the whole? Mitigation strategies. Now, before you reach the point of no return, explore alternatives. Can you mediate the situation with the help of a neutral third party? Can you clearly articulate your concerns and propose solutions? Sometimes being radically candid, having frank and open conversation can salvage your relationship where you want to personally care about the outcome. That's the whole point of being radically candid or using this communicational framework to try to get to a good and positive outcome. And always, always, always document everything in this situation. Emails, meeting notes, and any evidence of actual wrongdoing. See, this will protect you in the long run. When communicating difficult news, though, choose your words carefully. Focus on the facts, not on personal attacks, not on opinion. Avoid emotional language. And remember, silence can be a powerful tool. Sometimes the best course of action is to also simply walk away. Rebuilding after the burn. So, you've burned a bridge. Now, is all hope lost? Well, not necessarily. Rebuilding trust is difficult, but it's not impossible. See, start by acknowledging your own mistakes. Take responsibility for your actions and sincerely apologize. See, this can go a long way. And apologizing and admitting one's mistakes enables you to find ways or opens the gate for yourself to personally grow from that situation and learn what that situation may have taught you so you can be a better individual, whether that would be a designer or a leader as a result. And then focus consistently on demonstrating that you've learned from your mistakes. Show that through your actions, that you're committed to being reliable and trustworthy and professional. Of course, some bridges are simply beyond repair, and that can be unfortunate. In those cases, focus on building new connections, forging new paths. So, is it okay to burn bridges? Well, the answer, as you probably guessed, is it depends. See, there's no one size fits all answer here. Sometimes it's unavoidable and even necessary to protect yourself and your principles, but it should always be a last resort. It should be carefully considered and executed with as much professionalism and integrity as possible. Remember, your reputation is your most valuable asset, especially in the industry of design, so protect it fiercely. Now, are there times when you've had to burn a bridge? Well, let's discuss that in the comments. Thanks for watching. Stay present, stay curious, and stay professional.